She used to make a bunch of.
Hello everyone and welcome to another grammar clinic. So today's will be grammar clinic number 12. So that means that before this we have had 11 other sessions and they've all been looking at different sections of grammar that you can use here at the School of London. So if you don't already know, my name is Kieran. I am one of your English tutors at the Manchester campus of Elizabeth School of London, and today I am going to be guiding you through the use of punctuation. So this session is going to look at understanding how we use punctuation in English and how you can use it during your of assignments or presentations here during your course.
Yeah, this doesn't.
Okay, so let's look at what we're going to cover today. So we are going to look at the correct usage of each of the punctuation marks. We're going to explain the importance of each of them in writing, and then we are also going to analyze some statements and spot some errors if we can. All right, so like our little friend over here says, we are going to start learning now. So first of all, let's have a little self-reflective question. So let's have a little pause and think about this one then. So what happens if we don't use any punctuation mark at all in our writing? What will be the effect? What will be the results of this? Okay. Well, the answer is, if we don't use it, then our writing can look disordered. We cannot understand where we need to stop or pause, things like that. So punctuation is incredibly important because it adds clarity to our writing, helps it clearer and easier to understand, but it also makes it more precise as well. So it says the exact meaning that you wanted to give. Okay, so punctuation allows the writer to stop, pause, and then give emphasis to a certain part of a sentence.
Yeah,
So let's begin with a little question then. What do we put at the end of a sentence?
That's the most basic.
So the first one that we can use is a full stop. So a full stop is used at the end of a statement. So most normal sentences will finish with a full stop. Okay? So for the example sentence we have here, today I learned how to use a full stop in a sentence. And you've got the full stop there at the end. Okay, and a full stop is important because if you are reading out loud, the full stop tells you when you need to stop. Okay, and to take a breath. So if you have written something and you've been reading and you need to take a breath and continue reading, then probably your sentence is a bit too long. All right, so that is what we have there as a full stop, okay, at the end of every sentence. But also, at the end of some sentences, we can have an exclamation mark. So an exclamation mark is when we want to show excitement or emphasis at the end of a sentence. So if it's maybe something emotional or something like that, then we would use an exclamation mark. If you've seen the example here, I can't believe how great of a day it is today. I can't believe it. So there's some excitement, there's some emotion, and this is what we would use, this is where we would use an exclamation mark. So an exclamation mark goes at the end of a sentence that shows some strong feeling. But this is where it comes with a little bit of a warning. When you are writing academic essays, that you shouldn't be using exclamation marks because they are seen as too emotional. You should be writing formally, academically, and in a professional style. So the next one that we can use at the end of a sentence is a question mark, and like it says in the name, a question mark is used to show the end of a question. So in the example here, it says, can you help me carry this heavy box? Of course, the answer is either yes or no. So that would make it a question. So you would use a question mark at that point. And a little bit of extra advice when it comes to question marks. If you are reading out a question, your voice should rise at the end of the question to indicate that it's not a sentence, but it is in fact a question. So, can you help me carry this heavy box? Can you help me carry this heavy box? Okay. So, if you find yourself doing a presentation and you have a question in it, you should be rising at the end like that. So, time for a little bit of a quiz here. So we've got a sentence here, and we just need to decide at the end of this, will we have a full stop, will we have an exclamation mark, or will you have a question? All right. So we've got this one here that says, I love puppy. Which one do you think? Probably going to be an exclamation because you're talking about love, something like that, something emotional. So you would have an exclamation like this. The next one we have here is, can I have that crayon? So would we use a full stop, an exclamation mark, or would we use a question mark? Well, the answer is it would be a question, because they put a question. Can I have that crayon? Yes, you can. No, you can't. That is a question. So we have a question mark. Right. So all of those ones that we've just looked at are for the use at the end of a sentence. The other ones we're going to look at now are the ones we use in the middle of a sentence in order to give it order, meaning, etc. So the first one we are going to look at here is the comma. Okay. So comma is useful because it can be used to separate three or more phrases or items in a list. So if you are listing things like this, this, after each item, before the last one, you would use a comma. So in this example sentence here, I need to buy an apple, an orange, and a banana. After the first two, you're going to use a comma. All right, so let's look at this next sentence here, and let's see how the commas are actually used in this sentence. So it tells us, federal government has the power to regulate business, establish public schools, and conduct local elections. So you will notice here that there are 1, 2 different commas used here. Right? And they are used to separate the three functions of the federal government. So we got the first one, to regulate business. The second one is to establish public schools. And the third one is to conduct local elections. So we got three things in the list, and the first two have a comma after them. All right. Now, another reason why we could use a comma is to introduce or end a quotation sentence. Okay, so if you are using someone else's direct quotation in your assignment, you would reference it, of course. But if you're going to use a direct quotation, you would use a comma for it, and then you would put the rest of it in quotation marks. So if you look at this one, how was the comma used in the sentence? It's used to separate the introduction from the actual direct quote. So one other situation where we could have it here is that a comma can be used to show that a clause is extra or not completely necessary to help you to understand the main point. Yeah, okay, so anything that is not completely essential in a sentence but has been used to add some extra information, you can put them in commas. So let's see how it has been used in this text here on the right. So how were the commas used in this sentence? So it tells us here that the term federalism, system of state, has roots in the Latin word fidus, which means treaty, pact, or covenant. So in this situation, we've been told that federalism, and then it gives a bit of a definition here of what federalism is. It is a system of government. Yeah. So this is talking about an extra clause. So it's not completely essential for the sentence, but it adds some extra information into it. Okay. So that was commas. So that's one of the more common ways that we can use punctuation. We're now going to have a look at parentheses, which are also described as brackets. So brackets or parentheses are used to add extra information as well. And if they appear in the middle of the sentence, the other punctuation marks that are there never go actually inside the parentheses. They should be either before or they should be after. So we've got this example. Then it must approve important presidential appointments, including cabinet officers, federal judges, and then it gives us some information about them, including nominating department secretaries, and then again it gives us some more information about them. Okay, so parentheses are for your extra information as well. But if you notice, the punctuation comes after the parentheses and comes after the parentheses.
People don't even understand it, to be honest. It's so difficult.
Okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper into parentheses. So they can enclose or group related information in sentences using brackets. Okay. So we've got this example sentence over here. So let's think about how the parentheses are being used. So the federal government is composed of 3 distinct branches: legislative, executive, and judicial, whose powers are vested by the Constitution. All right. So that information there is grouped based on the 3 distinct branches, as has been mentioned before. Okay. So they have enclosed the information that specifies those distinct branches. Now, one of the next things we can use is a hyphen. Okay, now hyphens are used in many different situations. We're going to see how they are used now. Okay, so hyphens are used to join compound words or to separate the syllables of a single word. So the example here is that the federal government of the United States has 5 major self-governing territories. Okay, if we split them up, then it becomes 2 different words, but we want to compound them together to connect them. So self and governing are put together using a hyphen. So you've probably seen a few different words like this in the past. All right, but these are commonly used in compound adjectives and compound nouns as well. All right, things like maybe if you go to the football, you can say half time. It's usually put together as half hyphen time afterwards.
It's very cute.
Now, also, again, hyphens can be used to add information in the sentence to show emphasis. So let's look at this example and see how the hyphens are being used to punctuate the sentence. So it tells us here, America's first attempt was federalism. The article of Confederation of 1781.
The promo, extras.
What the hyphens have done there is that they've been used to include a note in the sentence that specifies the first attempt. So it's not necessary for the sentence. Again, you just provide extra information just to add some more excitement to the sentence. Okay. All right. So like it tells us here, a hyphen is very similar to parentheses or a comma, but a hyphen sets off a parenthetical phrase or an abrupt change of thought. However, hyphen, if we want to make a stronger break in the sentence, that's where we would use a hyphen instead of parentheses or a comma.
Yeah, it is.
Now, hyphens can also be used for some extra situations, so they can show number ranges and connections between similar words. So if you want to express a period of time, it can be used with a hyphen. If you want to indicate a range of numbers, you can use it as well. If you want to talk about scores, and if you want to indicate distance. So if we're expressing a period of time from first World War from 1914 to 1918, it would be 1940 hyphen 1918. If you want to indicate a range of numbers, you could say the population of a city is somewhere between 100,000 and 200,000. 1 hyphen 200,000. If you want to use it for scores, for football match or rugby or cricket or something else like that, you would put the score of one team first, then a hyphen, and then the score. And again, if you want to indicate distances, this is what you can use a hyphen for as well. So we've got an example sentence here, and we will see how the hyphen has been used. So it tells us the Articles of Confederation, that's the United States First Constitution, was in force from 1781 to 1786, and this is where you have your hyphen to express a period of time. Right, so this is talking about the range of those years when the Articles of Confederation were in effect. Okay, so let us reflect on what we've just looked at here. So we looked at the ends of sentences. So that was your full stop, your exclamation mark, and your question mark. Now for these ones that have been adding extra ideas, we've looked at commas, hyphens, and parentheses. So let's just reflect on what we learned about the comma. So it indicates a pause in a sentence or between phrases, clauses, or if you're listing things. If you have 3 or more items, you would use a comma. Then let's have a look at parentheses too. So these indicate details about a topic or indicate a phrase that interrupts the natural flow of a sentence to provide some extra ideas. And then the hyphen indicates a pause in a thought, which offers some more detail or emphasizes more specifically something that you have shown. So it's more about highlighting information. So there's going to be a little activity for you to do. So you see on the screen here, there are 5 different sentences. And these all have punctuation. So your task is going to be to look at the sentences and to change, add, remove, possibly some punctuation so it becomes clearer and it becomes easier to read. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, maybe pause your video now, write down your answers, and then in a couple of minutes we will check to see what the answers are. Okay, so hopefully that's been enough time for you to punctuate the sentences. So let's see about what you could have had. All right, so the answer key here is for the first one, because here it's talking about states and we're giving some examples of those states. We can open the brackets and put Australia, Malaysia, and the USA in. Also, the provinces, we've got them in brackets as well. And for examples of the regions, you can put them in the brackets too. For the second sentence, this is where you needed to use a hyphen because this is describing the citizens. This is a compound word of low and income together. So you put a hyphen between those 2 words to create a compound word, low income. Now, for number 3, we were listing 3 or more options here. So it was national, central, union. So you need to comment that with the first 2 items in that list of 3 things. Okay, in number 4 here, you were using hyphens in order to add some extra information. So we're emphasizing the idea of everything, but this does include money, power, and culture. So we put those in hyphens in order to highlight that information. And then in number 5, have a clause which is not completely essential for the sentence, but you have included it to provide extra information. So you put a comma before it and a comma after it in order to show that it is unessential, but still.
We offer to help, so we have to try. Yeah.
And anything is
So now let's move on to
email address.
some rarer
This means we'll have to work
punctuation
out.
that you can use. And the first one that we're going to have to look at is the semicolon. So a semicolon is used to join
That's
two independent clauses that have a related. Yeah. So maybe it's not important enough to have them as 2 separate sentences, but you still want to combine them together because they have a common idea. So what you do is you put a semicolon in between. So the idea is that independent clauses have logic on their
It's gonna
own.
be work.
So they're a complete full sentence. But in this sentence, they are 2 complete ideas, but we feel they go together quite well. So you put a semicolon in between. So we've got Melissa went to the library to study. This is a clear idea. So it was the only place quiet enough to focus. That is an idea on its own, but they are related. So you connect them using a semicolon. So a semicolon can also be used with lists that is separate from the comma that we're talking about before. They are actually in addition to comma. Okay, so this can be a little bit difficult to understand. So let's see what we have in our example. So in our example, we are listing 3 different places. Okay? That list of those 3 different places has a comma already in it between the Paris, France. That's talking about the city and then the country. Rome, Italy, city and then country. And then Barcelona, Spain, city and then country. So the listing already has commas in it. It would be very confusing if you listed them with commas, like Paris, comma, France, comma, Rome, comma, Italy, comma, and Barcelona, comma.
I had a funny feeling.
That's confusing to read. So what you would do in that situation, instead of putting the commas in, you'll use semicolons instead. All right. So things to remember: do not use semicolons to join an independent clause, a sentence that makes sense on its own, with a dependent clause, a sentence that doesn't have logic on its own. Okay? Also, don't use semicolons after a dependent clause. So let's look at a bad example. So George loves to use his compass when he travels. He has been to Italy, Spain, and Germany. All right, but it'd probably be a full stop or something here and a capital letter afterwards. Okay, because they are completely different ideas and they should not be together. So what you're going to do is, if you want to use a good example, George loved using a compass when he travels. Semicolon. He has been to Italy, Spain, and Germany. All right, so that is how we would use a semicolon. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so not the semicolon anymore, but the full colon. And for this one, colon is used to introduce a group of words, for example, a list, or it can also introduce a quote as well. So we can tell us here that Frank was going to buy 3 things: a lamp, a couch. We've got a list of 3 things there. They're all using a comma, of course. But before it, we've set it up by using a colon. So if we want to introduce a list, that's where you could use a colon. But don't make this mistake. All right. You should always make sure that a colon is used to join together related independent clauses. Okay. All right. So it says here, Sarah is baking today. She is making a cake for her friend. Comma is not good in this situation. The good situation is you should use a colon instead. Okay, Sarah is baking today. She is making a cake for her friend.
It's a bit different now.
Okay, now we're looking at something a little bit different here, which is ellipsis. So ellipsis is used to indicate a pause, or if an idea has trailed off. Maybe you've started an idea, but you've run out of information. This is where you would use an ellipsis. So the example here is that weeks later, I finally found my missing shoe. So that was all used there to indicate a pause, it's a dramatic effect. But because your academic writing shouldn't be having dramatic effects or anything like that, you should not be using ellipsis in this way. It's okay for emails to your friends, with your family, etc. If you're writing a fiction book, fantasy, a novel, etc., but not for academic writing. Okay, now the one that can often cause problems is the apostrophe. Okay, so in one situation, we can use apostrophe if you are trying to show possession. So something is the object of something else. So in this situation here, it says Jonah's new box. So this is the new box of Jonah. So in that situation, you would use an apostrophe. Other things, you can also use quotation marks. So before we talked about introducing the quotation. So now we're going to have a look at how you actually denote that it is a quote. So what you would use is, you would use, like you can see here, you can put quotation marks before the quotes, you put quotation marks after the quote. So they are used to show the beginning and end of a quote, to show speech used in a sentence. So if you're going to use someone else's idea or phrase or something like that, put a quotation mark before and after it. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our workshop today. So if you do ever need any other help or assistance from us, you can always contact us on this email address you can see on the screen, which is englishsupport_Manchester, wh@esl.ac.uk, and we can help you with presentations, your assignments, and any other skills you may need, both online and in person. And if you are particularly busy and you can't attend these grammar clinics or the writing clinics from my colleague Christine, then you will always be able to see them on our YouTube channel. So if you scan this QR code, you will be kept up to date with all of our latest recorded workshops.
That's 100 sheet on the lunch.
So thank you everybody for attending today, and I hope to see you all again soon.